I'm your host, James Yoder, here on the Michigan Football Report, live from Chat Sports. We are going to dive into the latest around Jim Harbaugh, the rumors to the NFL that will not go away. And folks, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I am not discrediting them as much as I was a couple days ago when I said emphatically, no chance. So we are going to let the audience build up here on YouTube, the Michigan Football Report YouTube channel, the number one most watched, biggest, most subscribed YouTube channel that covers Michigan football on a daily or even weekly basis all across the YouTube webosphere. All right, we're getting things started. Got about 30, 40 people joining us right off the top. So if you're a Michigan fan and not a hater or Georgia fan or an Ohio State fan coming to spam, Michigan fans only, type Go Blue, because anybody who's not typing Go Blue, I'm going to have my guy Peterson in the background on the production team block anybody from watching who does not type Go Blue. It's kind of a joke, but hey, we got a lot of power here at the Michigan Football Report with all the tools and tricks that YouTube lets us do behind the scenes. Let's get the Go Blues popping. I'll start giving a couple shout-outs. We'll get the show going here in a few minutes. We're going to talk some recruiting. There's a lot of shake-up around Michigan's coaching staff from the coaches, obviously Sean Nua and what's going on there. But we're going to focus more today on the recruiting department, right? Michigan has had several staffers leave, and it sounds like they may have another one at least interested in leaving. So there could be a big shake-up there coming, even more than a lot of people thought. So we have Go Blue from Greg Neighbor. We got, let's see, Stop Smoking Crack from Nate Gilkerson. I'm going to just show that one. Hey, Nate, say nope to dope. Aaron with the Go Blue. I'll get some more Go Blues here. Matt Carrier, Nate Gilkerson again. I'm guessing the crack was not to me, but maybe to somebody else. Chills, Michael Sylvester, DLT Lawn Care. Chills again. Okay. Ryan Richards, Edwin Fabre. And, man, that what's that guy's name? Okay, Nate Gilkerson, he is just giving it. He says F-UGA, F-Ohio. This is an I guess, moderated show, Peterson. So you see some of that. You can let those comments go through. I don't mind if people use the expletives because we're not for the children of the world. This is an adult-only show. I'll chug 6 beers in 15 minutes. I'll drop my own F-bomb. So if you're here for a family-friendly show, that's the show that comes after us. So wait around for them coming up in about 1 hour. So keep the Go Blues going. And F. Shardy, again, man, this guy is giving it to Mike 4227. Says F Ohio State. Kind of funny, though. If you guys watch us, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, we did the Michigan Football Georgia live preview. Guy was going to bet me, I told him I'd bet him $10,000 that Cade McNamara would start game one. I told him he had to give me his real identity, and I'm really glad that he didn't own up and make that bet with me. He was very confident that JJ was going to start game one next year. I was confident Cade would at least start, folks. I don't know right now. We're going to talk about Cade and JJ later on in the show. Talking about quarterbacks, folks, answer this question. Who is your favorite all-time Michigan quarterback of your lifetime? The guy you most love watch play? I had a lot of hopes it was going to be Shea Patterson. I don't think his second season at Michigan really turned out how a lot of us thought. So I can't say him. Even though this guy had a short career with Michigan, he was there 3 years, but actually only started 8 games in Michigan uniform because he was injured the first 3.5 games of his junior year, was Drew Henson. I think talent-wise was the most talented player that Michigan has had in the last 22 years, right? So let's just talk about 23 years in the post-Woodson era. Clearly didn't put up the biggest stats or anything like that with only 8 starts, then left May of the spring between his junior and senior year, May or April, to go play professional baseball with the New York Yankees. I've got Chad Henne, Tom Brady, Brian Greasy, Elvis Gerback, Jimmy Harbaugh from my guy Carl Cordy, Dennis Franklin from Dave Torrey going back to the 1970s. Guy producers back there saying Brady anyone? I mean, I think people, the national media, the haters at Michigan State and Ohio State, they'll say, Brady didn't even start for Michigan. That's fake news. That's not true. Tom Brady started every single game his junior and his senior year, 98 and 99, but he did split the second quarter with snaps with Drew Henson for like 6 or 7 games of the 1990 season. So that's a 99 season. So that's always been an overblown thing that Michigan benched him, etc. He led Michigan to a top 5 ranking, but led him to an Orange Bowl win over Alabama in the 1999 season. And Tom Brady was generally seen as a star quarterback when he was at Michigan, but not necessarily maybe seen as an NFL star quarterback at that time. Like obviously, he went in the 6th round. So we're talking some quarterbacks here later on in the show. I am sure of it. How about Jim Harbaugh, right? We got a few more minutes. Let the audience build up. Got 120 or so people watching live here in the Michigan Football Report. I want to know from you guys, where will Jim Harbaugh coach next season? The Michigan football season is less than 8 months away from kicking off September 3rd, folks. September 3rd, they will face Colorado State at the Big House, and who will be their head coach? But I want to know where Jim Harbaugh will coach. Go ahead and type M for Michigan, R for Raiders, B for the Chicago Bears. I think those are the teams that we'll focus on until told otherwise by reports or sources until, if that happens, because Jim Harbaugh clearly has ties to those two programs, was very close with Al Davis. Came on, coached with the Raiders for 2 seasons, 02 and 03, led their quarterback to, took them to a Super Bowl. They lost to the Bucs. Rich Gannon MVP season, and then, Al Davis had kind of said to him before he went to the San Diego job in 2004, it's like, Jim, stick around for a few more years, be our OC. A few years from now, we're going to make you a head coach. But he wanted to be head coach right there and then. Or the Chicago Bears. They benched their Super Bowl quarterback themselves in Jim McMahon after drafting Jim Harbaugh a couple years after they won the Super Bowl. Gave Harbaugh the keys to the castle. He was the quarterback for about 5 seasons before. Didn't work out, and he moved on to the Indianapolis Colts. All right. We'll get started here in a second with our Michigan football news and rumors, focusing on recruiting and Jim Harbaugh. But right after that, we're going to do about 30 minutes of live audience Q&A with 130 or so of you guys watching here live on a Thursday afternoon, 4:06 p.m. in the East Coast. So if you want your question on the show, when we get to that point, use hashtag Michigan in your comment. You can use it at the beginning, you use it at the end. Doesn't matter what that does. Pops you to the top of the queue for the production team. They can just slide you over there onto the monitor. I can answer your question live. Anything else, though, there's a lot of stuff that can get lost in the fray of the YouTube live chat. So make sure if you guys want to get out at the end of the show, use hashtag Michigan, or can make it rain, okay? Donate to the Preston Fund. We're raising money for my son's toys. So if you want to donate to the Preston Fund, money for Yoder's kid to get more stuff, go ahead and super chat. All proceeds will go directly to the Preston Fund. That I can guarantee you, folks. So use hashtag Michigan to donate to the Preston Fund and get your question on the show. All right, before we get started, we got 2-3 minutes before we'll get going with the show. I want to make sure everybody who's interested in this show gets a chance to see the notification. Go run away from work. Tell their boss they've got to use the men's room. Got to go drop a deuce, boss, and go watch the show there. So we're going to let them go do that. In the meantime, follow me on Twitter. It is at James Yoder. I'm going to pull out the phone, and I am just going to look. The next 15 people who follow me on Twitter, I will follow you back. Right now here on the live show, and if you get it going in the next 2 or so minutes before we get started with the news and rumors, we'll go ahead and give you a shout-out, your Twitter account, a shout-out here on the live show. So it's at the bottom of the screen there, at James Yoder. It's the top of the screen, at James Yoder. So just go type it in your Twitter search bar if you haven't followed me yet, and I'll go there. Hey, if you already followed me, give me a tweet right now. Retweet my tweet I just put out with the link to the show. Maybe I'll give some shout-outs to those of you who do that as well. So waiting for those to come in. When I see some tweets come through or some follows come through, I will start giving those shout-outs and following back. But those of you not on Twitter or don't want to follow me on Twitter, here's what we can do. Type me in the comments. About a minute or two till we'll get started with the show. Anybody types in me, we'll just roll off a bunch of names and get things rolling here on the show. So type me in the live chat if you want. There he is, Eastside Zach. See, Zach, you just missed it. I was talking about you. I said there's probably some people out there 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday want to watch the show, but they got to make an excuse to kind of sneak away from work. So probably hey, got to use the bedrooms, guy. I'll be back in about 10, 20 minutes, and they're going to watch the show in stall number 2 with their AirPods on. I'm guessing that's East Side Zach because he has now arrived. Charles McMillan says me. Der Clavius says me as well. Jay Makafaka fits. Captain Dimer. Let's Go Brandon from David Torrey. I don't know what that means. Someone typed that in the show last week, and I was really confused about what Let's Go Brandon mean because I was looking at the Michigan roster. No Brandons on there, and from what I know, unless there's a preferred walk-on that I personally am not familiar with, this recruiting class has no Brandons either. So if Let's Go Brandon is what you want to do, I don't know if there's some meaning behind that I'm not familiar with. Let's keep giving some shout-outs here. As I lost the chat, Captain Dimer, Brad La Rochelle, Magic Travel by Jen. It's a pretty cool name. Captain Dimer, I said there. Philip Smith, Kevin Mickens, Carl Cordy says go blue. And I think that's all the me's. I've gotten through most of them. Might have missed a few here going. But keep the me's going. I will give you guys a few shout-outs here in a moment. But coming up on today's show, folks, we will go through the latest Michigan football rumors on Jim Harbaugh's future. Will he be looking to the NFL? Is he using this as a ploy to maybe get a better contract for himself, a little cash, or for his assistants? Well, maybe he's just trying to push the envelope with what the Michigan football program is able to do when it comes to things like name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal. Speaking of transfer portal, there's been some movement this week. There's some players in, there's some players out. We'll talk a little bit about that, but I do want to focus some on the rumors that we're hearing on what Jim Harbaugh is maybe leveraging this NFL talk to get the Michigan to really just have more upper hand in what he wants to do in competing with teams like Georgia, Alabama, clearly Ohio State, and others in getting transfer portals, getting name, image, likeness, and all of that. And then, end of the show here, coming up in about 20 or so minutes, we will take 30 minutes of your Michigan football questions live right here on YouTube. All right, we got a quick super chat coming in from Nate Gilkerson. Much love to you, Yoder, and I can't even read this. I'm so blind. Everyone at Chat Sports, no F-bombs here. Twitter, what does it say? Twitter suck. Twitter suck. Join Minds or Gab. Oh, those other social networks. Yes, you, Don. Well, I can't. Okay, yeah. I can't read. It's a screen far away. It's so text. I'm not seeing my screen here. I think he's saying "Let's go, Brandon." So another "Let's go, Brandon." Okay, the production team has moved the screen in, and now we've got a little bit better view of it. Usually I can see on this screen too, but I didn't have it pulled up at that time. All right, we are going to get the show rolling. About 160 of you watching live. It's the Michigan Football Report from Chat Sports coming up right now. We are live here in the Michigan Football Report. I am your host, James Yoder, here talking the latest stories and rumors around Jim Harbaugh, the Michigan football recruiting department, and other things. So we're going to start the show today, coming up in a few moments, talking the latest Jim Harbaugh rumors. But we've also got stories on a big-time update from a 5-star offensive lineman. I think most of you guys who should know what I'm talking about if you watch this show frequently in the past. We've talked about this player a bunch in the last few months. Some news to start the show. We probably some transfer portal news. Dan Villari, he's got a podcast. It's like called The Amazing Podcast or something like that with Alan Bowman, the other quarterback that transferred from Texas Tech. He is heading out. He will no longer be a part of this program, going to seek greener pastures. Maybe he thinks there's playing time for him elsewhere. So best of luck to Dan Villari. He will no longer be a part of this program. Some recruiting news. Jayden Denegal, one of Michigan's 2 quarterback commits in this 2022 class, on campus a couple days ago, last weekend, with his family, dropped him off, moved into his dorm, early enrollee, headed right after that down to San Antonio, got a last-minute kind of injury replacement invite, and he will be part of the U.S. Army All-American Bowl that's taking place on Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern on NBC. If you guys want to go ahead and watch that, I'm really interested in this. I'm actually going to tune in. I haven't really watched this bowl game the last few years. I kind of thought they've turned into too much like a Pro Bowl where there's very little hitting and not any real plays. But I'm interested to see his talent because I haven't seen enough film of him personally because he's been committed for such a long time. It was kind of out of sight, out of mind. So I'm going to keep an eye out for that one there. So check it out, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC. Before we dive into more stories, I'm going to ask you this question with the news and rumors around Jim Harbaugh. Keep his eye on the NFL. Michigan is a program that likes Michigan men, that likes to keep things stable. A lot of times we saw what happened when Rich Rodriguez kind of skewed in there 14 years ago. Who would be the better candidate or the best candidate out of these 3 guys on the screen? Michigan's offensive coordinator, Josh Gattis. If you think so, type JG. Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator, first year, one of the best DCs in the country, at least statistically and performance on the field, type MM. Or Michigan man himself, first year running backs coach, Mike Hart, type MH. And I'm not talking about in the future, folks. I'm talking about next week, 2 weeks from now, if Jim Harbaugh were to take his talents to the NFL and jump, leave Michigan after 7 seasons. We've got some news for you on the recruiting staff front, all right? So Courtney Morgan, who was just hired about 10 months ago to lead up Michigan's recruiting, he left to take the same job with Washington right after a couple weeks ago. And now there is another Michigan football staffer headed to Washington. Clearly, it's a relationship. It's kind of a pull-through thing. I'm actually surprised that Michigan doesn't have a clause in contracts that say, hey, you can't recruit our guys if you leave for another job. But Jarrett McElwain has been with Michigan for a long time, was also with Alabama back before there. Yes, he's Jim McElwain's son. He was director of scouting for Michigan, just got a promotion back in March. He's heading out to take the lateral move to Washington as well. So 2 of Michigan's 5 kind of all-in full-time recruiting staff has departed in the last 2 weeks for the Washington Huskies. And, producer in my ear, rumor alert, it might not be the last one because Christina DeRuyter, how you pronounce her name, you guys remember her. We talked about her a lot back in March when she was hired. Being the person who covers on-campus and game day recruiting. So when recruits come for official visits, we come for unofficial visits. Anybody's on campus, she is trying to make it an A-plus experience from the time they step on campus, hell, the time they leave their house to the time they get back, a driveway-to-driveway experience. Rumor out there, unconfirmed at this point, but I think I'm kind of leaning toward it being true, is that she is being recruited and potentially is interviewing as early as this week, today or tomorrow, whether it's in person or over the phone, Zoom, I'm not sure, with Washington as well. So Michigan could potentially lose 60%, 3 of the 5 of their full-time recruiting members. They made a hire just in the past couple weeks as well. So they've added 1 person, but might be losing 3. Washington, though? I mean, Washington? Really? Washington? I mean, this is a program that was big time 30 years ago, right? They won a national title in 1991. They competed for one late 90s, early 2000s. But Washington has been really relevant in college football. 1 out of every 2 or 3 of the last 20 seasons. They went to the CFP in 2015, and that was a nice little performance. They got their butt kicked. But what are we doing with Washington? I'm not really sure what makes that appealing to DeRuyter or to Jarrett McElwain to take lateral moves, and maybe they get a little more money, but we're not talking about a ton more. So I don't know what the allure is. Hell, maybe Jim Harbaugh, which has happened with Harbaugh a lot in the past, maybe kind of pushed him out the door. He wanted to make different hires and was like, hey, I'm going to give you a month. Go look for other opportunities. I'll give you a nice letter of recommendation, but you're not coming back here to us next year, so let's make it a nice smooth transition. Don't make it look like you got fired. I don't know if that's happened here, but Jim Harbaugh has been known to do that in the past. What I've been known to do in the past, folks, is make straight cash, homie, betting on football, college football, NFL. I lost some money on Michigan versus Georgia, but we all lost a little bit in that game. But you can win and take advantage of our sportsbook offer with our partner BetUS. Go to chatsports.com/go blue. Use the promo code GoBlue. 125% deposit bonus. Put some money on the Alabama-Georgia game on Monday. Put some money on these NFL Week 18 games this weekend. Saturday, there's a couple games. A bunch of games on Sunday, leading up to Sunday Night Football with the Chargers and Raiders. Or bet on the NFL playoffs, the Super Bowl, March Madness. But get going. We don't know how long the 125% deposit bonus will last. Chatsports.com/go blue. Use that promo code GoBlue for BetUS. Let's talk about what Michigan potentially should and could do. Jim Harbaugh should and could do with the recruiting department. If you saw a video I put out about 8 months ago, I said, hey, here's how Michigan could win the Big Ten and decimate the Ohio State football program. It was basically, hey, go get their best coaches, their best behind-the-scenes folks. And with Michigan's recruiting department kind of coming apart at the seams, looking for other jobs, interviewing elsewhere, going to Washington, I think now is the time to go big or go home for Coach Jim Harbaugh when it comes to recruiting. And that starts with this guy right here, Mark Pantoni. I think he's the best in the business at both identifying talent and managing a group of coaches and a group of recruiting personnel to go seek the best players regardless of geography. Texas, Florida. Hell, they got 2 5-stars who were ranked in the top 10 players in the country from the state of Washington, Ohio State did, in this last recruiting class. He's been with Ohio State for a decade. Right? He's a young guy. I don't think he's even turned 40 years old yet. And he was with Urban Meyer at Florida as an undergrad, kind of took over an assistant recruiting job. And then by the time he was like 27 years old, he was running Florida's recruiting department for a national championship program before he had even gotten close to his 30th birthday. Went 1 year under who was the coach after Urban Meyer? I'm just forgetting at this point. You guys remember? No, at Florida. Not McElwain, the South Carolina guy. You guys know. Defensive coordinator, Georgia now, I think. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. Texas. Yes, you guys know what I'm talking about. Worked for him 1 year and then went to Ohio State. Will Muschamp. That's your job, Peterson. When I say something, you give me the right answer fast. It takes 3 seconds. Who was coach after Urban Meyer? All right, worked there and then went to Ohio State the last 10 years. He is wildly underpaid. $225,000. That seems like some pretty good money, but when it comes to other schools, you think about what Alabama makes. And by the way, this is all publicly available information for public universities. You can go on their websites, look up their staff, and see what the salaries are. Michigan could get him for probably $400,000. They got to make him an offer he can't refuse. A contract, $400,000, $500,000. Hell, throw him $1 million. You will decimate Ohio State and Ryan Day's kind of latching on to Urban Meyer's success, and then you will have the best recruiting guy in the game, both from an organization perspective and a talent, scouting perspective. And so what I want you guys to do, join me in this endeavor. I've told Mark personally himself, I've said it directly to him, I wish you would come to Michigan. If you're interested at all, I'll go out and do everything I can to raise money from boosters to get you to come to Michigan. We'll pay you $2 million a year. So go to his Twitter account right now. I just went and did it a little bit before we went on the show. Just type "come to Michigan." He's got a pinned tweet from like 5 or 6 years ago. We'll toss it up on screen here. It's this photo, right? So it's Zeke Elliott, and so like 3 or 4. I think it's Michael Thomas maybe on their recruiting trips in like 2012. So we're not talking about those players in there, but I didn't want you guys to get lost. Let's just put it all in the same tweet. So go to his account either right now or if you want to do it later, that's fine too. At Mark Pantoni. I'm going to go ahead and follow. If I see anybody in that pinned tweet, if you say come to Michigan, I'll go and follow you as well back if I haven't yet already. But show him some love, right? I believe he is underpaid. He knows he's underpaid, right? He knows what other guys are making around the country, and Ohio State has not shown him the love. So Ohio State did a couple years ago with Al Washington and Greg Madison. Maybe it's time for Michigan to get a little revenge and steal, I think, the most valuable member of Ohio State's entire football program, and that includes head coach Ryan Day or anybody else. So go ahead, type "come to Michigan" on Mark Pantoni's most recent tweet. Let's talk some more on the big story around this program over the last 24 to 48 hours. It is Jim Harbaugh interested in the NFL. The Athletic says, I'd bet on it, right? Or whatever that Bruce Feldman said. Very clickbaity headline. I didn't believe it. I didn't think that there was much behind it. That kind of just is the every year except for last year. Harbaugh the NFL. Get some page views. They make a little money. But maybe this one has some legs. Yesterday on Pardon the Interruption, you guys know the show, ESPN, Mike Wilbon, Tony Kornheiser. Wilbon said, Harbaugh to the NFL, he said, I'd bet on it. And then said a bunch of other things on there. But he talked about some of the things I have. Hey, he's got a big-time, long-time relationship with the Raiders. He was close to Al Davis. Is very close to his son, Mark Davis. He was beloved in Chicago. Is still beloved in Chicago. 25, 30 years after he was playing here, he's beloved in Chicago. He, made a call for him to come. That he'd bet on Harbaugh to the NFL. If he was putting money on it, he thinks it's going to happen. He thinks this is the right time. Beat Ohio State, won the Big Ten. Now it's time to take another shot at the Super Bowl. He might bet on it, folks. All right. I wouldn't bet on it. I would not bet on it. I don't think it's good odds if you're putting, 50-50 that Jim Harbaugh is going to the NFL. But at this point, I can't dismiss it anymore, right? Why can't I dismiss it? Because Jim Harbaugh is not dismissing it. In the past, it's been at least 3 or 4 times since he's been the coach, there have been this fever pitch of media focus around, will Harbaugh go to the NFL? Harbaugh interested in this job. Harbaugh interested in that job. And almost every time, he's come out within a matter of days and debunked it. He's just said it's our enemies spreading rumors to hurt us in recruiting, hurt us here, and he's pushed blame on people just wanting to damage the Michigan football program, damage his ability to recruit, damage his ability to hold on to players, get guys to know that he's in for the long term. But he hasn't done that. And usually the water-carrying, jock-sniffing local media like Webster and the Blog Boys, they will do whatever they can to have their hero Jim Harbaugh, read their article, and they say, this is not true at all. But none of them have done it either, right? So that leads me to believe that they're not getting word from the athletic department, hey, here's the story you should write today, like so often happens in the past. I'm not dismissing it at this time, but we're going to talk about what Michigan needs to do to keep Jim Harbaugh here in a second. But I asked this question a little bit ago, where will Harbaugh coach next year? Type M, type R, type B. If you think it's a choice other than one of those on the screen, go ahead and maybe just write the team in: New York Giants, Denver Broncos, hell, San Francisco 49ers. You never know. There's some rumors circulating around the Chat Sports office today that could be in the works. I'm not sure who started that one, but it's wild to think about. All right, what would Jim Harbaugh need from me reading the tea leaves and then talking to a few people, not necessarily on the Michigan side, but on the agent side, people who are kind of in the name, image, and likeness game, NFL coaching agencies and stuff like that. These are the 6 points that I believe if Michigan is not able to fulfill what Jim Harbaugh is looking for, he will strongly consider moving on to the NFL. With name, image, and likeness and transfer portal, I'm bucking them into one area, and that is aggressive at name, image, and likeness program. Michigan has already fallen behind. Ohio State's entire starting offensive line, defensive line, quarterback, backup quarterback had brand new $60,000 and $70,000 SUVs and Chargers and pickup trucks this year. And guys were getting big time deals. Alabama's quarterback, $1 million before he ever started a game this year is what Nick Saban said. Michigan has almost none of that. We're talking about the thousands or small tens of thousands. And Michigan really needs to push forward. Looser admissions on transfers. Jim Harbaugh is clearly not happy that Michigan has not been able to take advantage of guys transferring into this program from other programs, and now with there's not being the requirement to sit out a year, it's more important than ever. Ohio State just got a big-time starter in their secondary from Oklahoma State to transfer over. Alabama has just been getting superstar players. Eli Ricks from LSU transferring over to Alabama. Michigan has gotten a fifth-year guy who has had to do a grad transfer. Michigan needs to be able to take guys first and second years who can take all of their academic transcripts over to Michigan. And then less red tape overall from the athletic department. I'm talking about transfers. I'm talking about name, image, and likeness. Michigan's got to go through this whole long, drawn-out process to get name, image, and likeness deals approved. How about compensation staff? They did give him a long-term deal, rework the one they had last year, making $4 million a year, at least get up into the level of the Michigan State coach, the Penn State coach, $8 million, $9 million, $10 million a year, although I don't think Harbaugh is necessarily in it for the money right now. A bigger assistant coach salary pool, right? Make sure Josh Gass, if he wants to move on, isn't moving on because of money. Mike McDonald might want to go back to the NFL as a D coordinator. Mike Hart, et cetera, et cetera. I think Michigan really likes this staff. And then a larger budget for support staff. Take that recruiting department, take it from 5 people to 8 people. Take other positions where Michigan's got 2 people, give them 4 people, right? Social media, et cetera, et cetera. Michigan was one of the leaders when Harbaugh came on in that aspect of it. In the last few years, they've definitely fallen behind schools like LSU, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, et cetera, the bigger schools there. So those are the 6 points I think Michigan needs to come up with a plan to keep Jim Harbaugh, and he will remain as their coach. But speaking of name, image, and likeness, I did some math. Michigan makes about $9 million estimated every home game in ticket sales alone. Ticket sales alone. Average 110,000 people, 80, 90, sometimes 100, 120 for Ohio State price per ticket. And then you spend money on concessions, parking, tailgating, flying, driving. The average at Michigan football Saturday, probably just in those things, not even counting hotels and things like that, we're talking about $25 to $30 million per Saturday. I think Michigan can easily, with just the fans, put together a program where people can donate to start having a name, image, likeness fund that's not necessarily affiliated with the school. So question to you guys, would you donate, if possible, $100 a year to a Michigan name, image, and likeness fund? I want to know from you guys. Type Y for yes, type N for no. I put 1,000 in, right? The Yoder family trust already puts in like $2,500 a year to keep these obnoxious season tickets. So what's another 100, right? And if 100,000 people did $100, right, that's $10 million. That's plenty of money to give every guy, $100,000. So let's see what you guys think. Type Y for yes, type N for no. By typing Y, you're opting in, and we are going into your computer right now and getting all your credit card information, just so you know, and you'll see that charge on your card here in a matter of moments. Just kidding. All right, these next 2 weeks, folks, they will determine, in my opinion, the next 10 years of Michigan football. We've heard a lot. Michigan's putting something together on name, image, likeness. They're putting something together. It's going to be great when it comes out. Great when it's come out. It's been 6 months since name, image, likeness has been legal. It's been a year and a half since it's been known, and Michigan has yet to do really anything to support their players. And several basketball players have come out and said, hey, NIL is just a disaster compared to what I'm hearing guys are getting in other schools. Michigan needs to move and move fast to keep Jim Harbaugh, keep the staff, and be able to compete for transfers, name, image, likeness. And if they don't, Jim Harbaugh might be onto the NFL, and Michigan could be scrambling to get maybe a second-rate coach. Josh Conetly, 5-star offensive lineman out of Seattle. You've heard me talk about him a lot. visited for the Washington game. Michigan went out and visited him in Seattle over the summer. Don't expect a decision from him soon because although he named a final 6 teams last week, he is taking official visits, 3 more official visits after his basketball season. He's playing in the Army All-American game on Saturday, 1 o'clock Eastern on NBC, but don't expect him to commit when signing day comes up the first Wednesday of February. Here's the quote he had down at the Army All-American game. I'll decide probably sometime around March. I haven't been able to take my officials. The next 3 weekends in January for basketball, bowl games, and basketball tournaments, so I won't be able to take any officials. And February is a dead period where you could not be on campus after signing day for about 3 weeks. So he's going to have to take official visits, sounds like in March. So he may not commit until late March or early April. I've said in the past few weeks, I think it's a 75% chance that Michigan lands him in their class. That's waning back, right? If he's pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off, what we've seen in the past is the longer guys push it off, typically it's more likely that they stay closer to home. So I'm guessing that Josh Conetly may not end up in Michigan, but we'll hope for the best as we get more information on this big-time offensive line prospect. We will certainly bring you that news. I want to ask you guys this question. Who is your favorite offensive lineman for the University of Michigan of all time? Think back to all the great offensive linemen that Michigan have had over the years. Certainly Jake Long, many others, Steve Hutchinson back in the late 90s, early 2000s, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just going to go Jake Long because he was the first pick in the 2008 NFL draft. How about Lil John Runyon? Producer says in my ear, a guy I gave some grief back about 3 seasons ago, but turned out to be a heck of a player for Michigan, got drafted, and now playing for the Green Bay Packers. Let me know your favorite Michigan football offensive lineman of all time. Seeing in the live chat here, a lot of Jake Long, a lot of Taylor Dewan's a really good one too. Taylor Dewan, hands down. So get those comments in here on the show, and we will let you guys know what everyone is thinking on that one. Jake Long, Taylor Dewan, et cetera, et cetera. Make sure you guys use hashtag Michigan or Super Chat to get your questions on the live chat show today. We're going to start taking your questions here in a moment. Had a Super Chat come in, so when we toss it up on screen, before we say talking other questions, whether more Super Chats or the hashtag Missioners, the freebies, go from there. So Magic Travel by Jen says, what does that say? Buy a toy for Preston. I'm like, buy a what? So look, guys, the Preston Fund might actually be what's that word? Redistribute to the James Yoder Eyeglass Fund because we all know I need it. I squint like nobody's business. I do have glasses. I just refuse to wear them. Thank you so much, Magic Trail, for Jen. I will buy a toy for Preston and come up on the show once we get it. I'll show him playing with it, and you can we'll give you a shout out. I'll maybe even give you a thank you. So keep an eye out for that. Very much thank you to the $10 from her on that one. So keep using hashtag Michigan or Super Chat. We are going to do a live Michigan football question and answer for you guys, from you guys, the audience, coming up here on the Michigan Football Report. Let's keep using hashtag Michigan or as I make an eye contact with the producer, like, Yoder, you went too soon. We're trying to do hard pause. Okay, we're going to start this again because we're going to put this segment on the show later. It's called Put It On Demand. So producer, we ready? 3, 2, 1. We are taking your questions here on the Michigan Football Report live on Thursday. We're going to put this on the channel over the weekend, Saturday, maybe Sunday. We're going to do 2 segments of question and answer, about 30 minutes of questions from you, the Michigan Football Report audience. Any topic is allowed, so whatever you guys want to know about this program, use hashtag Michigan. Nate Gilkerson says, JJ is the starter as the starter next year. Change my mind. Well, the only change the mind, it could have been what we saw all season, which is a quarterback that can lead you to a Big Ten championship and beat Ohio State, and that's Cade McNamara. The first guy to do it in 8 matchups back since Denard Robinson, and the first guy to beat a top 10 Ohio State team since John Navarre in 2003, right? So that's the change your mind. And J.J. McCarthy, as much as he looks the part, right? He looks like a reincarnation of Drew Henson. They're literally the same player, in my opinion, at least. He still hasn't done it through a full game, and he has not gone, 16 of 22 for 295 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, plus rushing for 50 yards. So I just think the only way I can change your mind is we know what we're getting from Cade. That is a college football playoff quarterback, a Big Ten championship quarterback. JJ is still an unknown, and he's going to have the next 8 months to beat out Cade McNamara. And if he does so, he will have earned it because Jim Harbaugh, if he's anything, he is loyal. I'm sure he's got to have a lot of loyalty to Cade McNamara right now. Cody Frazier, do you think that Michigan will change their approach to NIL? What would that look like? Alum base surely can pay enough to compete with anyone, right? So if you guys are watching a few minutes ago on the live chat, I said, would you pay $100 to contribute to a name, image, likeness fund? I don't know if Michigan thinks I'm the guy because I'm a crazy YouTube guy and yada, yada, yada. I don't hold things back. I don't play nice sometimes with the company message, but I'll gladly run it. Right, for free, right? We'll charge a 3% processing fee for Visa if you have to donate, but nothing going to it. And just say, okay, donate $100, right? You're gonna. Most people watching this have spent $100 on Michigan shirts and T-shirts and hats, at least in the last year, let alone game tickets and the time. Just think about what your time's worth. What's your time worth? You're spending it watching this show. You're spending 4 hours, 12 straight Saturdays watching Michigan's game. That's clearly worth $100. So I'll ask you guys this question. Toss that on screen there. Would you donate $100 a year to a Michigan NIL name, image, and likeness fund? Right? It's an interesting thing to consider. If 100,000 Michigan fans who go to every home game were to do that, that's $10 million, right? If 1 million Michigan fans did it, which there are 1 million Michigan fans, and many more than that watch Michigan games every Saturday, that's $100 million. All right, that's up there with NBA and NFL salary caps in some aspects. So I think Michigan could definitely do it, but they need someone to lead the charge. And over the last 6-7 months or last year plus, I have yet to see anyone from the alumni or from the athletic department, for whatever abilities they have, to step up and do so. So if you want me to do it, guys, just give me the heads up, and we'll start taking that money and distributing it out. Starting quarterback, $250,000 every game, every time you start, whatever it is. Next, coming up from Bohannon94 Super Chat. Thank you so much for the Super Chat. I know you gave us a couple Super Chats a couple weeks ago, so it's certainly appreciated. James Yoder, best in the biz. This is not my burner account, so I don't want any of the haters in the comments saying, Yoder planted that question. Bohannon, real guy. Would you take a job working for Big Blue Media or recruiting? Glasgow? No, I would not, although I have joked several times in the past that I would apply for it because I think I'd probably do a pretty good job. But more or less, other than I probably have to, stick within these crazy guidelines of working for a public university, I don't want to live in the cold, right? And unless Michigan relocates to Florida or Texas or California, I don't think I would do that unless they let me do it all over Zoom. So if not for the money or the fact that I'm running my own company, etc., I think the fact that the weather is pretty brutal in Michigan, so that's why I've lived in warm weather for the last 15 years as I've been an adult with my own home, yada, yada, yada. So thanks for the question. Bohannon, thank you so much for the $5 Super Chat. Albert Kalalik, what does that mean? Here's my saying, look, that's Mo, alcoholic. There's tricky people here on YouTube. Alcoholic saying, why hasn't Harbaugh or the blog boys like Scam Web come out and debunked the NFL rumors? This is the best question we've had on the show in a while because it's what I feel is the really interesting thing, the tricky thing about this situation. It's why I can no longer say no chance to these NFL rumors for Harbaugh. I don't think Jim Harbaugh is looking to go to the NFL. Seriously. Certainly he's going to listen because of the circumstance. He's hot right now, right? He's accomplished some goals, Big Ten, Ohio State, CFP made it. And the two of maybe just a couple jobs he'd be interested in, the Bears, the Raiders, right? Maybe the other potential jobs he might be interested in. I think the Miami Dolphins because of the Stephen Ross factor, if that ever came open. And maybe the Chargers or Rams because of L.A. He spent a lot of time in California, et cetera, et cetera. He's not going to go back to San Francisco, I don't believe. And they're not debunking it because my belief right now is that Jim Harbaugh wants the upper hand. He wants to run this Michigan football program like he would if he was the general manager or the president of a team with full control of from front office down to the field as a coach and maybe GM. And that probably says, hey, there's been guys we want to get in as transfers that we couldn't get in because of academics. Michigan's too stringent on undergrad transfers. And, hey, name, image, and likeness, our guys are going to have to go through 2 weeks of paperwork and questionnaires and asking questions and putting up documents just to do a $500 social media tweet for some random company. That's unacceptable because other schools are doing $50,000 deals with the snap of a finger. So I think Jim Harbaugh is using this as a leverage play. If he doesn't get the leverage, folks, maybe you just say, hey, you know what? I've done all I can. I've taken a program that was down the dumps with Brady Hoke. I returned to Big Ten champions. I have fulfilled what you guys asked me to do. Now I'm going to head back to try and win a Super Bowl. Speaking of trying to win, you can try and win this weekend on NFL games on College Football National Championship Monday night, Alabama, Georgia. Crazy enough, Georgia is favored by 3 points after getting kind of blown out by Alabama just about a month ago. Use our sportsbook partner, BetUS, chatsports.com/GoBlue. The promo code is GoBlue, no spaces, very simple, GOBLUE. You get a 125% deposit bonus. You put in $100, you get an extra $125. Put in $200, put in $300. You put in $500, folks, you have an extra $625 sitting there in bonus cash to bet. Allows you to put some money on games. And if you lose, hey, you haven't gone through your whole bankroll or anything like that. Use BetUS, our sportsbook partner, the sportsbook I put all my bets on, chatsports.com/GoBlue. Eastside Zach with a $5 super chat. Longtime watcher, always tweeting our stuff out. Really appreciate you, Zach. Did you hit the portal for some interior defensive line after losing Chris Hinton? Yes. It is a position of grave need going into next year. Chris Hinton was not expected to go pro. I told you yesterday, if you guys watched yesterday's show, we went through that announcement. I'd reach out to some people. He's getting a 7th round or an undrafted grade right now, and maybe that'll change if people look at more film, but there is nobody out there in the NFL draft community that thought Chris Hinton was going to head out and go pro, leaving 2 years of eligibility on the table with Michigan, and leaving after his 3rd year, and really only starting, 19 games in a Michigan uniform and never really standing out in any of them. So expect Michigan to explore as much as they can. Right now, kind of handcuffed. They've got to go really aggressively after grad transfer guys who have graduated from the college and have the grades as undergrads to get in Michigan, because the undergrad transfer rules and requirements are just a little tough right now. So I don't have any names for you yet, unfortunately, Zach, but as soon as we do, we'll have that on our next show. Derek Adams. By the way, everyone keep using hashtag Michigan or Super Chat. Super Chat is small as $1, $5, $10, whatever you guys want. If you want to Super Chat 20, 30, 50 and want me to do some crazy things like chug a beer or beer bucket, you name the trick. I am just like a monkey with what are those called? Symbols, right? I am just doing whatever you guys tell me to do. With Nua out, who replaces him, and how does that affect recruiting? Do the guys who came in under him stay? This is a really good point. Sean Nua was very instrumental in landing quite a few recruits from the West Coast, quite a few defensive line recruits in this class. Now, Derek Moore, top 100 guy out of Baltimore who just won the Under Armour All-American MVP this past weekend. He's one that's good, but anybody else on the defensive line is a Sean Nua guy for the most part, and quite a few of them, a handful of them, are potentially, considering looking out. Now, I think Michigan's going to do everything they can to keep those guys on campus. I don't think many of them are going to Washington with Nua, so I doubt Michigan loses any of them, but it's always something that you got to keep an eye out for in this day and age when there's no having to sit out a year to transfer. I think Osborne, what's his name? Ryan Osborne, the Michigan staffer, who is, if you've seen him during the games, I don't know if you guys saw this, but anytime Michigan got a turnover during the season, the entire defense would run off the field and 35 guys, all the starters, the backups, would get together and pose for a picture. And this is always the guy, backwards hat, doing photos like this. He's a real chubby guy, he's a big man, but he's the one who it sounds like will have the leg up on the job. But Michigan is going to at least explore the candidates out there. If they don't find the guy outside the program that has the experience, Osborne, a younger guy, will maybe get his first full-time coaching job for a big-time program like Michigan. Big Blueski says, Yoder, how many beers would you drink if Harbaugh left for the NFL? Woo! It's a good point, a good one. How many guys, I asked you guys here in the live chat on Thursday, how many beers would I drink, should I drink, let's just say over a 15 or 20-minute show, if Jim Harbaugh, these would be sorrow beers, right? Because I was critical of Harbaugh last year, but I want Harbaugh to stay now, right? He is, I think we bullied him into being a better coach, and there's no joke about that. Beat Ohio State again, that probably work. I probably have to do 10 beers in 30 minutes. Would that be a good number? Is that too many? Okay, there you go. So production team saying, James, we got to maybe switch it up to hard liquor, maybe 6 shots of Patron in 30 minutes or something like that. That's probably what we have to do live on the show. That's not sour. What's a sour liquor? What's a sour liquor? What do you guys think? I don't know. Jack Daniels? That's, yeah. I'll put, I don't know, Seagram's, but Jack Daniels sounds good. You put on some country music, and you talk about your dog running away, your girlfriend leaving you, your coach going to the NFL, and you swig a bottle of Jack, and you play your guitar. That will be me. So probably do like 6 shots in 30 minutes. But we're not going to let that happen, folks. We're not going to let that happen. So let's keep the karma going. It's New Year. We're 6 days into this new year. I had some personal big news today. If you guys saw the show a few weeks ago, moving in across the street from a Michigan State fan. Bought a house today, finally closed on it this afternoon. And guy next door, directly across the street, right, has in Dallas, Texas. What are the odds? What are the odds of that? Michigan State, 2 logos with his 9117 in big green on the curb. I'm like, we're going to find the guy, because my guy, we bought our house from, he has a Texas Tech one, the same thing. I didn't even notice that till today. I'm going to get him, I'm going to say, hey, paint this one Michigan. I also own the house over here. This is my house too. I'm going to paint over that guy's Michigan one. But type Go Blue. Let's keep the karma going. I'm not seeing enough Go Blues. I think you guys have. I think they've lost me. Not enough Go Blues. Ken says Go Blue, but not enough Go Blues here. So maybe people don't want Jim Harbaugh to stay. So let's take another question from Matt Carrier. Which incoming freshman is going to have to be the biggest impact? I think now it actually might be Derek Moore. It's not because we didn't think David Ojabo and Aiden Hutchinson would be gone, but now Michigan's going to replace 3 starters on the defensive line. We don't know what some of these younger players, freshmen, sophomores that haven't been on the field a ton are going to do, right? Guys, surprises. David Ojabo, 1 tackle before this year. Now he's probably going to be a top 15 player pick in the draft after basically 1 season at Michigan. But I think Derek Moore could be that guy, or Will Johnson is probably the obvious answer for a lot of people. But there you go. They put it on the screen. Production staff is just too quick here at Chat Sports. So that's the question on the screen. So that's the question that we just got. You guys answer this one for me. Which 2020 recruit will make the biggest impact this season? But yeah, I can't say Will Johnson. Go down in the comments. Let me know who you guys think it's going to be. I'm going with Derek Moore. We are going to take another round, about 12 to 15 minutes of your questions here live on the Michigan Football Report on a Thursday afternoon. It is 4:46 p.m. on the East Coast. In about 14 minutes, I'm legally allowed to crack open a beer because it's 5 o'clock somewhere that someone is watching this show. So if you've got a beer handy, 14 minutes, you're legally allowed, per my rules, to crack it open. So keep using hashtag Michigan. Let me get a few shots before we start the next one with some people. Alex says FMSU, probably talking about that guy who is my neighbor. Got to go blue from Tori Baker. We don't have many women who watch this show. Tori Baker, thank you. We got 98% analytics say men who watch the show. So finally have some gals watching it. Appreciate that. Sup. Derek Adams says, hell yeah, go blue. We got Emmanuel says Kenneth Grant. I don't know about that one. Maybe. I don't know if I think he's an instant impact guy. She also says, Tori says Derek Moore, MVP of the All-American game. Matt Carrier with the Go Blue again. Scott Heiser says Go Blue. And then Carl Cordell says Derek Moore is going to be great. I agree with him. I mean, he looked really fast. He looked like a David Ojabo clone, frankly, for me. Before we start going, I'm going to get one sip of maybe some Jack Daniels. Mm-hmm. And we will keep going. One more shout here. Harbaugh forever. Let me check the Twitter really quick, Brett, if you don't mind, before we start these questions. I want to check back and see if we get any followers. I got quite a few come to Michigan, so that's cool. So MW, who's at MWard0710, followed me on Twitter. I got JTorp90 followed me on Twitter. Nick Meldrum followed me on Twitter. Sean Marie Boutrell followed me on Twitter. Kyler followed me on Twitter as well. And Brian William. Those are the ones I'm seeing right now on the screen. If anybody else followed me that I'm missing, trying to scroll through while taking your questions, I'll get those to you guys right after the show. So go follow me on Twitter, at James Yoder. I'm following 15 people back who follow me on today's live show. Go ahead and predict Michigan's record next season. And we're not talking about Big Ten championship games, college football playoff bowl games, just the 12 games that are on their schedule. It's one of the easier schedules, as far as I'm concerned, that Michigan has had in quite a long time. No big out-of-conference games. So 12-game record. Go down in the comments. Let me know what you think Michigan's record will be next year. I'm putting it out there, folks. I say Michigan will go into Columbus 11-0 next year. And then it's anybody's game after that. Ohio State's certainly going to have a hell of a team come back next year, so I don't want to make a prediction on that. So I'm going to say 11-0 start the year, and we'll see where the the cookie crumbles, as they say. I guess somebody says that, but just what came to mind. So go ahead and predict Michigan's record in 12 games next season. We are taking your questions. Use hashtag Michigan. We'll get you guys here on the show. Charles McMillan says, if Bowman transfers and the loser of the battle between Cade and JJ, Michigan could be thin at QB. Makes sense if Bowman transfers. So I basically saying here is that, look, Bowman might transfer, which is possible, but I think he's giving up on his football career, to be frank. I've listened to a couple episodes of his podcast. He came to Michigan for academic reasons. He's had a lot of injuries. He's trying to get a master's degree, already graduated from Texas Tech. His mother, from what he talks about, is from the Dallas area, a very successful businesswoman in her own right. So if he left, which he might not be, but maybe they don't offer him a scholarship next year. You never know. And if Cade or JJ would have left, Michigan would only have the winner of that battle, two true freshman quarterback. So if that were to happen, I think they'd wait till probably after spring ball. You could see Michigan bringing in a guy who's like a fifth-year player who has some experience, but doesn't necessarily think that he is a starting level quarterback. Case in point, Alan Bowman did that from Texas Tech this year. I think you could definitely see that with Michigan next year. Tired Ace, cool. Should we expect any more 2022 recruits, or is it on to 2023? I think we should. It will probably, they're holding one scholarship right now. That scholarship is for Josh Conetly, a scholarship they don't have, right? Michigan is still, as of this taping, as of Thursday afternoon, coming up on 5 o'clock Eastern, Michigan is 8 scholarships over the total for next year. So 8 guys have to leave the program for them to even, have a competitive, have a football team next year, be able to give all the guys on the roster a scholarship. But maybe Daxton Hill leaves. Maybe there is a couple more transfers. Maybe guys medically retire or don't decide to come back for a 5th or 6th year. Some of the older players who haven't been starting level players. But if they do have scholarships, I believe Michigan will use them. The defensive line is an area of concern for Michigan in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of talk. They just offered a big-time rising running back, a guy who kind of exploded his senior year in the state of Texas last week. So if Michigan has the scholarships, expect them to maybe take 1 or 2 other guys other than maybe Josh Conetly. Folks, we're coming up on 19,000 subscribers. Didn't get it before the end of the new year, and there hasn't been a lot of stuff to talk about over these last few days, so haven't had an explosion of subscribers coming off the New Year's Eve loss. But we are within a couple dozen away from 19,000. I'd really appreciate it if you haven't yet subscribed. Now is the time, or if you have subscribed and you like the show and you continue to watch on a consistent basis, send it to a friend. Right, do a friend a favor. Make sure they are in the know on all things Michigan football by subscribing to this channel. We did, I think it was in the 122 days from September 1 to December 31st. I think all in we did like 119 shows. Only had 3 days we didn't do a show. So we're not going to keep up that pace in the offseason, but we'll probably still have about 3 to 5 episodes a week from now, going all the way up until the opener on September 3rd at Michigan Stadium. How hard will it be for Michigan to Bosa to beat Ohio State again, seeing they returned Stroud and Henderson at running back and the new DC? Right, they just fired their offensive line coach today, Ohio State did, so that's pretty interesting. Seems like Ryan Day is not resting on his laurels. He's kind of cleaning house like Jim Harbaugh did after last season. Replaced their defensive coordinator twice, right? Replaced the guy midseason, replaced the replacer. He's going off to Memphis to BC. Brought in Oklahoma State's defensive coordinator, who seemed to be had a heck of a defense this year, and now a new offensive coordinator. They'll be one of the top. They're probably going to be ranked because Michigan lost so bad to Georgia. They'll probably be ranked higher than Michigan in the preseason polls. I'm guessing they'll probably be number 3. It'll probably be the winner of Alabama, Georgia 1, the loser 2, Ohio State 3. Michigan will be somewhere between 4 and 6, just to kind of depending on how things shake out. And they'll be favored. Probably something like this year, 6 to 10 points at home this year. And so can Michigan replace the guys that got them there? Hassan Haskins, who hasn't declared yet. Can they, potentially look and get some more defensive linemen to disrupt Coldridge, Stroud? And if the weather's not snowing, Stroud can throw the ball when the temperatures are above freezing. Under 32 degrees, he absolutely cannot play football. But if you guys want to see Michigan beat Ohio State again, keep it rolling. They haven't done it since 2019. There are kids who are in their 3rd year of life, right? 4th year of life. There are children who are in their 4th year of life. 19, they were born December of 2019, 2020, 21. Now it's 2022. Now they're only 2 years old, but it's their 4th year of life, who have never seen Ohio State beat Michigan, and that's pretty sad for those kids if their parents are Ohio State fans raising them. And how about Ryan Day? Right, he's going to his 4th season next year. He's never beat Michigan at home. Complete loser as far as I'm concerned. So keep the Bosas going all offseason long. Got a Bosa from Bohannon 94. Got a Bosa from Mario. Keep the Bosas rolling in the comments. Put them in the live chat here on the Michigan Football Report YouTube channel. Every time you see an Ohio State, anything on the internet, just type Bosa. They know what it means. We've just dug it into their head. I think we got mind control over Ohio State at this point with this phrase. Super chat coming in from Nate Gilkerson. Do you think Gaddis deserves the hype this year that he's got this year? I think he is the same he's always been, and it was Weiss and Hart that made him look good. Anyone who watches this team, right? I have not missed a Michigan game since I think I skipped a game or two Brady Hoax last year, but I've watched 98% of the snaps live of this program every season of my life, right? And, maybe I'll go after you go use the men's room. I'll miss a snap here and there, right? DVR, you go back and get it. Josh Gaddis has not run an offense consistently in his 3 years, and he's not run an offense that he is promised to run. I think the reverses and stuff they did a lot this year with A.J. Henning were a little bit of the Gaddis, but nothing else seemed to be what Gaddis wanted to run. So I do think that Jim Harbaugh with Matt Weiss, who's been with his brother for a while, worked for Jim Harbaugh way back at Stanford in 2008, 2009 as a grad assistant. I think they came up with the game plan, along with Mike Hart, what they ran in Indiana last year, and said, Josh, can you call these plays, yes or no? Yes, I can. Okay, you can continue to be the offensive coordinator with a group setting, but I don't necessarily think the offense they ran, which can continue to get better. Second half of the season, they were terrific. I don't think it was Josh Gaddis, so no, I don't think he deserves the hype. And if he were to leave, I think Matt Weiss is the guy who is next up to be Michigan's offensive coordinator after Josh Gaddis. All right, we got a restock alert with Fanatics, our sports apparel partner. You go to that link at the bottom of the page. We'll put it here in the live chat, and it'll be in the description and the comments of this video when we put it up on the channel this weekend. The quarter zips that everyone was freaking out about with the College Football Playoff logo and the Michigan Jordan logo over here, those are available. And as I checked this morning, they're out in size small, but they've got medium, large, extra large, double extra large. So those are available now on sale. T-shirts, hats. You got some Orange Bowl stuff. You don't probably want that. College Football Playoff, Big Ten champions. We should probably get them to sell beat Ohio State again shirts, but I guess we'll have to try that again next year once Michigan wins for a second straight year. So chatsports.com/champs. Don't be caught waiting 6 months for one of these other outlets to try and fulfill an order like I've heard a lot of you guys complain about in the last few weeks. Carl Cordell, frequent viewer, frequent commenter. Thanks so much, Carl. Could Dax be staying? He hasn't declared. Could he be waiting for Jim to decide what he's doing? Well, I put my Twitter push notifications on for Dax Hill because I want to make sure I see if he declares anything. But, yeah, he hasn't declared. It's getting pretty interesting. I think he's one of the borderline guys. Like Chris Hinton, I don't get that one. Aiden Hutchinson, right? I get that one. David Ojabo. Dalen Baldwin, he's not going to get drafted, but I get that one as well because he's just not going to be a contributing player next year. He doesn't want to go to a fourth college and transfer for a sixth season. So let's just take our chances here. Dax Hill is probably trying to get as much information to make a very educated decision. Can Michigan move forward with anything name, image, and likeness? Put $100,000 in his pocket to let him drive around a Mercedes this year? Maybe that's one reason. Number two, is he going to be able to talk to people and agents, maybe some back channeling to NFL folks? Is he going to be a first-round draft pick? The difference between a first-round draft pick and a second-round draft pick is a lot of money. First-round pick and a third-round draft pick is a ton of money, and it's a ton of guaranteed money, and teams will just put more resources and give first-round picks a lot more leeway, put more effort in them, give them more opportunities. So if he knows he's going to be a first-round pick, he gone. If not, I think it's probably potentially 50-50 that he could come back, and we might not know until coming up to the days. I think it's, 2 more weeks till players have to decide. James, go blue, who will start at QB in 2022 from David Blackwell, though my eyesight might be bad. But is that Dr. Tony Fauci there? Is that who that is? Okay, interesting. Before the Georgia game, I was convinced at the beginning of the season, no questions asked, it was going to be Cade McNamara. But Cade just didn't have it against Georgia, and maybe no one had it against Georgia. They were clearly more talented and a better team than Michigan. I think they played that game 10 times. I actually think Georgia probably wins all 10 times, and 6 or 7 of them are three-score victories like they were last Friday night. I'm waiting to see. I think by 2023, I would guarantee J.J. McCarthy at this point, right? But I could see a scenario where Cade starts at the beginning of the year next year, JJ comes in for more, maybe a couple snaps every quarter, maybe a drive or two, and if he outperforms him, he takes over. But maybe they platoon him for one more year, and Harbaugh says, look, we got to go with JJ. We might only have one more year of him. Cade, you got 2 more years of eligibility, right? Cade still has 3 more years of eligibility. He could transfer, go to Notre Dame, go to anywhere else, and start in the 23 and 24 season. I'm not sure how many people think he has a huge NFL future, but you guys answer the question. They see here on screen. Who will start in 2022? And let's just focus on the home opener, September 3rd, at home. Cade McNamara. Go ahead and type CM. If it's J.J. McCarthy, go ahead and type JM. Interested to see what you guys think. I think the tide turned for a lot of people in the Orange Bowl. Like, look, we think JJ looks the part. Cade didn't necessarily have it. We're not going to win the national title with Cade, so why not give JJ the start? So type JM, type JJ if you want to for him, or type CM for Cade McNamara. From the live chat here, folks, it seems it's overwhelmingly JJs or JMs, whatever we want to go with there for McCarthy. Seems like McCarthy is leading, although it's Scotty Rusher with a CM. Keep him rolling. If you're watching on demand later this weekend, go down in the comments and let me know. T. Hammer says, NIL and difficulty with admissions from potential transfers is killing the height. I think it's kind of like the ceiling where this program can get to, this program could reach. That's no doubt about it. No cap, as the kids and the cool people like producer Brett says. I really agree with this. This is Michigan fans for years have used cheating as and players don't go to class as an excuse. And it was always like, yeah, okay, but it can't be that blatant. Or someone would just, cell phone recording the DL, someone giving them $100,000 in cash. That never actually happened. So I never believe it was as blatant as the blog boys and the fans, the crazy fans, made you want to think. But now, for the most part, it's legal. You can transfer. There is a college football quarterback who started like 8 games at Oklahoma this year who came out and basically said, who's going to pay me the most money? I'm willing to listen to you. I'm in the transfer portal. I might go back to my school. But if anyone wants to pay me $1 million, I'm your quarterback next year. That's going to happen. And if Michigan didn't have Cade McNamara, let's just say Cade had transferred last year and Joe Milton was the quarterback this year and J.J. McCarthy wasn't the recruit. And Michigan had a terrible quarterback situation. Could they go after Caleb Williams? They would love to. And they might be a great landing spot for him based on the landscape right now. But they have nothing set up. No one stepped up. No one has, led the charge from the Michigan side of having NIL deals happen. And so they wouldn't get a player like him nowadays. And not to mention, Shea Patterson, right? Think about 3-4 years ago in Shea Patterson. His dad told me after Shea's last game in Michigan, he said, look, Shea had to give up more than half of his credits at Ole Miss just to come to Michigan. So the 2 years at Ole Miss, that didn't even count. It didn't even count towards a degree. So he had to leave Michigan for 4 years, still like a year and a half away from getting a degree because Michigan, he had to give up all that schoolwork he did at Ole Miss. If he didn't, right? Ole Miss, SEC. But Michigan just wouldn't take his credits. And so I think it's unfair to the school, the players. I think it's unfair to the program that they won't be able to commit in this new era where you could have the best player in college football to say, hey, I'm going to go play in Michigan next year. See you later, Oklahoma. Cool. That's what Michigan needs to get done. Do you think A.J. Henning transfers? It seems like every receiver we use like him transfers, like McDoom and Giles. It's certainly a good point, but I do not think he will. I think he's got a long-standing relationship with J.J. McCarthy. They've been friends for years. They kind of came to Michigan because of each other. He's certainly a Josh Gaddis guy as well, is Henning, and they've used him enough. Right? A.J. Henning is a meaningful member of this team, and if he was able to do it as a wide receiver more frequently, he would get those chances. But he's getting the opportunities as a kick returner. He's getting the opportunity as a end-around guy, and I think that will continue to grow next year. So I think he'll be back for sure. I think he'll be one of the top 4 receivers in a rotation for Michigan, and I could expect that he had 3 touchdowns this year, 18 yards a carry, and only like 6-7 catches, something like that. So I think you'll see his production at least double next year, and hopefully get more active in the receiving game. All right, folks, let's shout out your city. We are going to get rolling here, get out of here. It is 5:03 on the East Coast. I got the bartender at the Chat Sports office saying, who wants a drink? And his lips are chapped. I need to go get myself a cocktail and get the party started. All right, let's get I got some shout-outs here, though. Actually, let me give a few more, Brett, if you don't mind sticking on there. I'll check the Twitter really quick. I had a lot of Twitter activity. I don't know why, so I couldn't get everybody while I'm live. It wouldn't be a disservice to you guys. I see one at the top, Cody Crippen 1. He followed in the last couple minutes, and I see a lot of come to Michigan, so I'll follow you guys on on Pantoni's tweet as well. So if you guys want to follow me, I'll give some more shout outs. I'll probably follow about 10 more people. But shout out your city. See a lot of cities coming in. Give you guys some shout outs. Carl Cordy says, still shocked Selden Jr. is leaving. Yeah, I mean, I guess, but him and Dorian Green-Warren, like, they literally did not play at all in 2 seasons at Michigan, so you can't expect them to stick around if they have, aspirations of being football players. Josh Fademaster says Columbus. Bohannon says Columbus. A lot of Columbus people in the chat. San Diego from Robert G. Sour YT says Madison, Wisconsin. So you got Madison, you got a lot of Columbus. Spokane, Washington from Steve Reichard. Another Columbus, Ohio. Huntsville, Alabama from Cody Frazier. Indianapolis from Derek Adams. Fairhope, Alabama from Andrew Storts. Got Tim Dorsey from Buffalo. William Rose from Atlanta. And Becky and Chad. Shout out to Becky and Chad. Appreciate you guys watching. Toledo, Ohio. I spent my formative years in Toledo, Ohio. Met my wife in Toledo, Ohio, for 18 years ago. Can you believe that, as that would be. Detroit baby from Eastside Zach. Justin, also Toledo, Ohio in the house. Napa from Ginger. Go Bucks! Delete that. Ban that guy from the channel. No. He's got what? Oh, yeah, okay, cool. Click on the, we won't ban you. The guy is going up there. Who said go Bucks again? I'm missing it now. Jim Johnson. Click on one of the ads here on YouTube so we can at least make, 12 cents of revenue from you. We're not going to ban you, though. But, okay, cool. We're tracking you now, so click on one of the ads and you will not get banned from the channel. Thomas Orzik says, stop drinking. I don't know, Thomas. It's pretty fun, right? I don't know. It's not dry January in the Yoder household. Believe me there. Go back down. Give you a couple more shout-outs. Sterling Heights, Michigan from Alex. Barisha. Mark Schlanderer Jr. says, Ann Arbor A2. And Winter Haven, Florida. I think the former home, I'm not sure if it's the current home, former home when I was growing up, of the Cleveland Indians, Winter Haven, Florida. Hunting, West Virginia from Nate Gilkerson, allegedly from Columbus, Ohio. All right, we are going to end the show here. All the content, most of the content you saw on today's show, the Q&As, live audience questions and answers, and the news and rumors at the beginning of the show, we'll put out as on-demand episodes on this YouTube channel today, tomorrow, and Saturday. So make sure you subscribe. Until we see you next time, folks, go Blue.